Hey guys, so what I wanted to do is do another quick tips and tricks in Ableton Live and show you how to use the Ableton instrument called the Simpler. It's a really fun tool and it's great if you want to do some vocal chops or take samples or sounds that you've recorded and kind of manipulate them to make them sound pretty cool. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is right click anywhere, insert a MIDI track. This is going to be where your Simpler is going to live. Go to Instruments and then it's right down here. You can double click on it or you can drag it and there it is. So this obviously says drop sample here. What I wanted to do was create a little audio sample and I'll show you the different things that we are able to do with it. I have an audio track already set up here and I'm just going to record a little vocals into it. Gave it away, gave it away, it was all you had, you. Okay, it's not the best audio sample, but it'll do for this tutorial here. You go back to your Simpler, which is right here. You take the audio and you just drag it in as a sample. There are 3 different areas here. One is called classic, one is a one-shot, and one is a slice. Now, I never use the one-shot. I don't really know if it's different from classic, but you guys, if you do know, you can explain it to me down below. But I usually only either use the classic or the slice. First, I'm going to turn the gain up here on the sample so we can hear it. You can take any sample and input it in here, and then you can go up this scale on your keyboard or you're able to push, and you play the sample in different notes up the scale. For instance, so that's where we started. Then you can go up the scale. So you can play up the scale, you can play chords. But what you'll notice as you go up, the sample itself is going to get shorter and shorter. Same as if you were to go down the scale, the sample is going to get longer and slower. So they're not going to be at the same length. If you do like a chord, some of them are going to end a little sooner, some are going to end a little later. It's really good if you want to do very short samples. You can use it as a pad, use it as chords, whatever. But I really, really love this portion of the Simpler and it definitely lends itself to some fun experimentation. The slice is the other thing I use. Slice will cut up the sample itself into these little sections. Then your MIDI controller, keyboard, Ableton push, whatever you have, you can go up the keys and it will only play these little sections for each key. So it's a vocal chop. It's very cool. It's very fun. A few things to note. The sensitivity you can change. This is currently at 100%, which for a sample like this, I like because if I bring this down a percentage or a couple percentages, the little chops start disappearing. And then when you bring it up, there are more of those sections created. You're basically allowing the program to be more sensitive in how often it chops up the sample itself. For this, since there isn't a lot of versatility and movement in this sample, it didn't chop it up too much, but this is enough to play around with. I like that. I'm gonna arm this track and we'll just record straight into here. I really like that. It's a nice little like rhythmic, choppy ad-lib situation. Then what we can do with it is bring in maybe a little reverb. I'll put a little plate on here. Bring this down a notch. Bring that up a notch. So bring the mix down. Bring the decay up. I really like that vibe. If you want to go in here and kind of manipulate where the sample chop begins and ends, like say for instance, if you don't like that one, you can bring this out. You can mess around with those parts as well so that you can come up with something you really like. I like what we got. I also want to add what's called Pan Man. I highly recommend Sound Toys. It has so many things to offer as far as effects. You have echo, filters you can play around with, reverb, weird EQ things, tremolators. I like Pan Man. It will pan the sound however you like. And panning just means going from left ear to right ear and back and forth. So how far you pan something to the left or right dictates where the sound is coming out of in your headphones or in the speakers. I like to do the widest width because that really gives me some spatialness to the sound. Then pan it back and forth. You can have a rhythm step. Right here you can find the beat that you want it to pan left and right. For instance, this is a half note pan, which I don't think is fast enough. I like it on the 8th. So that right there can inspire a whole song, and Simpler is a really cool tool. Why can't I say that? Simpler is a very cool tool, I really love it. You can also add a little echo. One little sample that wasn't that great to begin with can turn into a start to a song, something that triggers an idea. I just really, really like it in that regard. That was the Simpler. I hope you enjoyed. I might just add a little drums to this to finish off the video.